happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Dial, here with another movie review. Today, we're going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Let's get into it. So, I have heard the term Dungeons and Dragons many times. I know it is based on the very popular board game of the same name. For me, I have no knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, yes, as I said, I know about the name, but I don't know anything about the game. I don't know how the game is played. I don't know about the lore. I don't know about the characters. I don't know all the strategies. I don't know all the terms. I am the biggest casual in the world when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons. I do have a few friends here and there that do play the game and are very knowledgeable about the game, and sometimes they'll explain to me how the game goes. You know, what the different power modes and the different terms and the characters and the creatures. They tell me how to play the game. They tell us the different strategies of the game overall, and I'm just sitting there like, what? What are you saying? What does that mean? What? Who? Yeah. So look, I'm a nerd. I don't make that a secret. Like I do have my stuff that I'm really interested in when it comes to the nerding culture. But this is a place in the nerding geek culture that I don't know very much about. You know, I'm more of the comic book guy. Sometimes I like me some video game stuff, some anime here and there, but yeah, when it comes to board games and stuff like League of Legends and World of Warcraft and all that stuff, that's the stuff I don't really get into that much. Um, so when it came to this movie, I don't know, I didn't have much expectations going into this, to be honest, because as I said, I am not a Dungeons and Dragons fan. Um, and for those of you who are wondering, no, I did not see the original movie with the Wayans. I didn't even know that movie existed. I probably heard some rumblings here and there about a movie, but like I never seen anything from it. I didn't see any trailers for it. I didn't see any clips from it. So this is the first Dungeons and Dragons anything that I'm really exposing myself to outside of my friends trying to explain to me how the game is played. So going into this, very little knowledge about it. My expectations are very mid, even though I saw a couple of the trailers for this movie and I was actually impressed with what I'm seeing so far. It actually looked like a really fun time. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe this will be a harmless little fantasy movie. Hopefully, they won't bash me over the head too much about the lore and the characters and all that world building from the game. I'm hoping I won't be too confused. I was expecting myself to be confused somewhat because trying to learn some of the stuff from the games and the terms, like it was overwhelming. So hopefully the movie won't do that. But man, I gotta tell you, after sitting down and watching this, I loved this movie. Yeah, this movie is awesome. This I I'm blown away, man. I did not expect to enjoy this movie as much as I did. This movie is freaking incredible. And once again, I have to iterate, I don't know anything about the lore. Like I don't know anything about the different spells and the creatures and all that stuff, and I still ended up really enjoying this movie. This movie had no business being as good as it was, but I'm just so impressed with this film. One of the things like I did appreciate the most is while I did not understand the lore of Dungeons and Dragons, it didn't bombard you over the head with all these terms and different spells and different qualities and whatever they put in the game. Like this isn't just a movie made for the fans. I mean, I think this movie was made by people who appreciate the game and the source material, but they managed to find a good balance between pleasing the fans and bringing in a new audience, because the whole time while yes, there were still terms that they probably used from the games, there's still some world building and creatures they put in here that if I played the game, I probably would get more of an appreciation for it. But the whole time, I was just really, really blown away by how creative and cool this movie was. I was just fully invested in how the world building was, and I never felt overwhelmed. I never felt confused. I pretty much understood everything that was going on. And let's talk about this world that they created in Dungeons and Dragons. This this world, this is so well realized. Um, the different lands, the different different towns, the way they're building with all the different creatures and the different wizards and warriors and all that stuff. I thought it was just all beautifully done, and the effects and costume work in this movie actually really, really surprised me. There was a mixture of practical and CGI effects. It wasn't just CGI thrown onto the screen. They actually had practical creatures and costume work with the mixture of CGI, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about film is that they only use CGI when it's absolutely necessary. And in this one, I'm just glad to see a mixture of practical and CGI. But like, man, the world is just so beautiful, and there were so many different locations too. You know, it like to be honest, I haven't seen this creative of world building since Lord of the Rings. Like I've got a lot of different vibes in this movie. There was a lot of inspiration from Lord of the Rings, um, and stuff like Game of Thrones. And another thing that really surprised me is that this movie's funny. This movie is really, really funny. Like it wasn't being so dour and serious like the Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. Now, I'm not knocking Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones at all. For one thing, I still haven't watched Game of Thrones yet, so I can't really tell you like the actual like how the story is and how the characters are fully. But getting an idea of like some of it that I watched with my friends, and like when they try to explain to me stuff, it did feel like that Game of Thrones is more serious. And same thing with Lord of the Rings. I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but even then they get boggled down with some of the really serious like destruction and end of the world and Sauron. It did feel like those type of fantasy stories took itself too seriously. But what I really appreciated about this film is that yes, there was still some serious situations and there were still stakes, end of the world stakes, but this movie wasn't afraid to have fun. Not every like the comedy, the wit, the banter in this film is like so fun and energetic. And what I appreciate is that while this movie was really, really funny, it didn't take away from the serious moments in the movie. And that's something I was really worried about, because even though I thought the trailers were really good, one of the things I was a bit worried about was how the humor was, because it seemed like it was being really jokey and witty, and the banter between Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez and stuff like that, and Justice Smith in there. I'm not the biggest fan of Justice Smith, so I was worried how the humor was going to be. But pretty most of all the humor in this movie landed for me. There was actually quite a few laugh out loud moments in the film, and like as far as the comedy, it was giving me a mixture of comedy from like The Princess Bride and some influences from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, but like it wasn't going too far with the humor. But like I liked it gave a little bit of a modern sensibility to the movie. And from what I'm hearing from people that know the game, it does have that somewhat type of witty, modernized humor to it. So that's what helped it to make it feel more unique from the other fantasy um, type of properties we have today. But yeah, let's talk about this cast real quick though, because I thought the cast across the board was really, really great. Chris Pine as Edgin, he was really, really good. Chris Pine, like I pretty much really enjoy him in anything that he's in, and him being like the leader slash like the person making plans to strategize, what the group's going to do, whether it's trying to escape somewhere or trying to break in or like trying to rob whatever place that they're in. I thought he was really really good. And Michelle Rodriguez, she really impressed me in this movie as Holga. I love the chemistry that she has with Chris Pine in the movie. You know, they're both like best friends and they're like partners with whatever missions that they're trying to do, and she's the muscle of the group. To be honest, this is probably one of my favorite performances that Michelle Rodriguez has done. Because there's not a lot of, even though like I do like Michelle Rodriguez, there hasn't been a lot of roles where like she really like really impressed me. You know, even with like stuff like the Fast and Furious movies, I feel like it started to become a little more shallow as the franchise went on. But in this, like I really, really liked her in this. She found a role where she could play to her strengths. And same thing with Justice Smith. He's the one that impressed me the most because, as I said, I'm not a big Justice Smith fan, but he was actually really really likable in this as the sorcerer. Well, he's not the best sorcerer in the movie. That's pretty much like something that's a part of his character. That he's not the best sorcerer. He does like these little parlor jokes, but he's slowly learning to become more powerful and learn new spells and get over his fears. And I really like that dynamic that they had with his character. And they didn't make him like such a bumbling fool where you didn't take him seriously. He did have his like bumbling moments, but it didn't take away from his development. Sophia Lillis as the shapeshifter of the group. I thought she was pretty solid too. I'm glad to see Sophia in more projects because like I haven't really seen her in that much since the It movies. But yeah, I was happy to see her in this, and she was really good as well. She had some really really awesome sequences when she shapeshifts into different creatures. There's one scene where it was like she was being chased by a bunch of guards and knights, and it was all shot in one take. Probably one of my favorite sequences of the whole movie. I thought it was very creative how they were able to play with her powers in that. And then we have I'm sorry if I'm going to say his name wrong, but Regé John Page as Zenk. He was really really good too. He was like this Shakespearean warrior, that helps them guide them through this I don't know where they were, underground, where this lava was, and they were being chased after a dragon. This is all in the trailer, by the way, so I'm not spoiling anything. But I thought he was really, really good too. I wish he was part of the whole movie because he wasn't with the group the entire time. He was only there to help them on that specific mission, but I thought he was great. And what made it really funny about his character too is that he's probably one of the only main characters that actually speaks in like Shakespearean lingo, and everyone else is like more modern with how they talk. And it's like they kind of make it a little bit of a joke is that Chris Pine's character is like annoyed with how he talks, and then like Zank is not getting all the modern lingo that everyone else is talking about, and so it makes him like kind of naive about certain things that they say. It kind of reminded me of how Drax acted in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie with the Marvel films, where he was pretty serious and he didn't know any modern lingo, and a lot of things went over his head. It was a very similar thing with that, but like it wasn't too jokey. Like they had some fun with that, but they wasn't trying to make it haha fest with how they were treating him. But like I thought he was really cool, and like he had some really badass fight scenes as well. I'm hoping to see more from him if this franchise decides to continue. And then what I also loved about this movie was the father and daughter dynamic between Chris Pine's character and Chloe Coleman's character, Kira. I really love the father and daughter dynamic in this movie. I don't want to spoil too much, but there's some backstory that has to do with her mother and Chris Pine's wife in the film, and I thought it was very endearing how it played out in the film. It's some of the best emotional beats of the movie, and also there's some stuff with Holga as well that I didn't expect either that got me a little bit emotional as well. So I was really surprised that not only is this movie action packed, not only is this movie funny, but it has some really really good emotional moments as well. It was the trifecta, and I was very very impressed. As far as the villains, I thought they were really, really good too. Hugh Grant as Forge. Once again, it's not much of a spoiler because they showed this in the trailer, but I thought he was pretty funny too. He was playing more of that chicken villain, like coward villain, that has humorous lines here and there. I thought it was effective in this. I thought it worked for what Hugh Grant was playing. I did find him entertaining to watch, like you love to hate him type of thing. And so it made him like more interesting to watch than the generic mustache twirling villain we've been getting for a lot of movies. Him being the coward and him having some funny dialogue here and there. I thought it was pretty good what they did with him. But I would say probably the bigger villain in this is Daisy Head as Sophina, the Red Wizard in this. She was downright terrifying in this movie. I liked how she looked. I loved the powers that she had, and like all of that was just really, really cool. It was you knew that she meant business when she was on screen. She definitely was very intimidating. And yeah, overall, I just really, really liked what they did with her. Um, Probably we'll see more development with the Red Wizards if we get sequels from this. That's something I'm kind of really interested in seeing in future projects, is what is up with the Red Wizards as villains, because they did set up a big baddie in this movie. So yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with that. But yeah, man, like I did not expect for this movie to be as great as it was. It's a really, really enjoyable fantasy film. The action in this movie is awesome. It was adrenaline pumping. I did not feel bored at all. This had a really terrific pace to it. The chemistry between all the characters, this ragtag team was just great. I didn't, like I said, I haven't felt this um enthusiastic about a fantasy film since Lord of the Rings, and I feel like this property could rival something with Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. Like, I'm not kidding. I don't just say that for anything. And this is coming from someone, once again, I don't think I've said this enough. I don't know anything about the Dungeons and Dragons mythos. And I'm watching this movie being like, this is a great fantasy movie. And we need to get more from this franchise. I want to see sequels. I want to see spin-offs. I want to see more from these characters that we follow in this movie. Like, this is a great franchise. They could do so much with this, now I can't say to how respectful it was from the source material of the games. I'm sure like people that play the games could tell me, how faithful it is. But regardless of that, like, I overall just think it's a great movie. For those of you who are curious about watching this film, go see it. And for people that don't know anything about the lore, don't worry about that. Like, don't let the title Dungeons and Dragons, don't let that deter you if you don't know anything about it. You will still enjoy this movie a lot. Please go see this in the theaters. Don't sleep on it. I know Super Mario Brothers is about to come out, and I'm excited for that too. But like, please don't sleep on Dungeons and Dragons. If you could find time to go see this in the theater, please go see this in the theater. Don't wait for this to be on streaming. This movie deserves your time. I'm telling you right now, it's an awesome film. Go see it. I'm going to give Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves an A. Once again, I'm just shocked with this month. There's just so many really, really good movies coming out this month, and this is only the tip of the iceberg for what's coming out this year. But man, I'm so shocked that I loved a Dungeons and Dragons movie. But yeah, that's how I feel about Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. What do you guys think about it? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? Comment your thoughts down below and let me know. If you guys enjoyed this review, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And please hit the bell if you want to be notified on future videos I'll be doing. More movie reviews will be coming down the pipeline really soon. But that's all I have for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.